play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! 47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to Basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head...
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore, looking up top for Basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down, the catch is good at the 1-yard line. He got him behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. And Basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job. I like him to be putting his hand right there. He's looking up.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
our head coach of our Lobo football program, Bronco Mandel.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Much better. Sorry about that. Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Morning Howl at Press Live. I'm coming to you live from New Jersey. Rick is in California. We have a busy weekend in Lobo Land. Want to thank our sponsors first: Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, Hydro Bar, Affordable Solar, Affordable Service, Turquoise Desert Tap Room. We appreciate Armando and Molly over at Turquoise Desert Tap Room in Dulce River. Busy day, busy weekend, as I mentioned. I saw a gentleman at the Rutgers men basketball game pull bread out of his pocket and then eat it, walking up the stairs to his seat, then proceeded to come home and get a glimpse of Mike Tyson's ass. So eventful evening in my world last night. But I'll get to the usual suspects. Washington State, who's number 18 in the country, travels to UNM today to take them on, and it starts at an early 9:30 my time. And if you're in the tri-state area and you're a Lobo fan, it's going to be a late night, long morning, long day tomorrow. Enough with the puns. All the way from the Bay Area, he's a two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Sartans. His name is Richard Thompson. Rick, how you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Richard.
Tamari, I like the Thanksgiving stuff you
Yes.
got going on behind you there. It's very getting me in the mood here to eat some turkey in a few weeks. I'm glad you're out there, man, to cover basketball. But I'm excited for this football game tonight. I think Lobos have a chance, and excited to talk to Jacob and Ed here and you about it.
We will have our picks here in a moment. Nothing like using new equipment with this microphone stand. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It just
I thought you meant the Pilgrims.
Well, no, the Pilgrims, the Santa Maria, the Pinto, and what is it? I haven't said that in probably 30 some years. I appreciate the festivities behind me. I realized that when I set up the camera. Pinta, Santa Maria. I'm gonna have to Google that when we're done here. You can follow him at NM Sports Capper. I've grown up coming back east, and the time change has royally kicked my ass. I woke up and it was like 9 o'clock here today. And I was like, oh shit. You can follow him at NM Sports Capper. We will get to our picks with our You Bet Your Ass segment. And we are straight stealing this from ESPN. Boost it. His name is Mr. Jacob Neff. Neff, how you doing this morning, man?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Just excited. This is a huge sports day. Tons of college football. You've got UFC 309 tonight. That Tyson fight was something to forget. I don't know. Like I don't even know why they did that, to be honest with you. That was terrible. But yeah, excited to talk about some football. Really excited for the Lobo basketball game tomorrow. But yeah, we'll get into some things and talk some sports.
I am excited for college football today. I don't know if there's any people that are out there in New York City that are going to that event tonight, but that's a big deal. I'm afraid to ask him. My mom was calling me. I'm sorry. You know, this is what happens when you're away. It's like, I don't know how to turn on the TV. I don't know how to go get a haircut. I'm talking shit about my mom. I love her. I wonder if anybody from that is out in Albuquerque is going to that event, that's going to the Garden night. I don't even know who John Jones is fighting, but it's a big weekend for Albuquerque, New York City, of all things. I don't know what ticket prices are. I don't know if I want to know, but there you go. He is the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970. His name is Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Actually, Bones Jones is fighting Stipe Miocic tonight. So Miocic is still a firefighter at 42, says he'll go back to being a firefighter no matter win or lose. And Jones, they call him the greatest UFC fighter in the cage that's ever been. Should be entertaining. You know, Neff, I didn't see Tyson's fight, but I heard about it. And, you know, they did it for money, man, right? You know, they tried to, you know, show him with a couple of workouts and he's hitting the bag. He looks like the old Iron Mike. He's 58. You know, apparently wearing a knee sleeve and couldn't move very much. And you know, they sold us a can, man, a bag again. And I didn't get it. I would have watched it. I definitely would have watched it. But yeah, Tyson, the $20 million richer, he could care less, you know. So let's see if they put Jake Paul in against somebody a little bit younger. You know, of course he's going to beat an old man, and he did. And yeah, there's that Iron Mike, I told my wife, has been dead for a long time. That savage that, you know, came in knocking people out in 90 seconds. That guy's been dead a long time, man. You know, but he got his 20 mil. He got his bag. He's good. You know, so yeah, I didn't see it, but I was getting some reports from some friends. So yeah, and for you Pius guys, Rick and Ryan, Pius versus Grants today. I've got the call there, and Pius beat Grants earlier 40-7 in the second game of the season. And you know what? Yeah, I'll tell you what, Rick, your Pius Sardines are looking pretty darn good and quicker than I think that Coach Flakes may have thought that they would be this good. So, yeah, you know what? Keep an eye on them. I don't know if they can win it all, but they've got some playmakers that are young, and they'll be back, man. So I'm looking forward to that game today.
Let me tell you something. It might be a it might be a Catholic school, but I expect nothing but complete domination of Grants today. I think what happened last night, I think Centennial beat the bloody hell out of Rio Rancho right down in Cruces.
Got it right here. Centennial 43, Rio Rancho 17. Cleveland beat Los Lunas again 57-7. Cruces over Volcano Vista 17-3. Hobbs and La Cueva play today. So Roswell beat my Highland Hornets 42-0. Mayfield over Deming. So those are some of the scores from last night. Yeah. Yeah, Cleveland is playing at a high level. They're saying Centennial plays today and La Cueva plays today. They're already penciling in La Cueva and Centennial, but don't count out Cleveland, man. They're playing. They've been playing 9 straight now. They've won 9 straight.
Holy moly! I probably mentioned this, and I probably told Coach Curtis Flakes this was back in 2016 when our beloved San Juan Mendoza retired. We were probably more excited when they won state at Community Stadium than the actual players were, and I didn't even play football. But hey, alcohol's a hell of a thing. We tailgated. We were up early. We were at my house because it's not far from Community Stadium. But yeah, we were probably more excited than the kids on the team. Big game. Before we get to that, and then I'll mention the helmets today, which I'm very happy about. Our bet segment, which I've proudly titled "You Bet Your Ass." I will start with Neff's picks. Again, this is for college football today. We might keep this thing rolling through February and March with the big games on Saturday with college basketball, but we're not there. Of course, it's Neff's numbers. I didn't get to make, or didn't ask Eric to make an actual banner for it, because I know he's had a sick kid, and I'm lazy and don't know how to do any graphic design. But here we go. These are Neff's picks for today. Western Kentucky -12, BYU -2.5, Tennessee, Georgia under. I think, did I have that right? Under 37. That
It's
can't
47. Yeah,
47. I'll fix it. I'm going to start with Western Kentucky. They host La Tech here in about 45 minutes. Neff, your thoughts on Western Kentucky? That's what I meant to do. I meant to clip Big Red, but I didn't do that there. Your thoughts on Western Kentucky and La Tech?
Yeah, so Western Kentucky, pretty good overall team, pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. Western Kentucky, I think, should be able to throw the ball on LA Tech, but really this is just a fade of LA Tech's offense for me. They're pretty abysmal when you watch them. They don't really have much for as far as passing and rushing. And Western Kentucky always has been, looked at as an offensive team, but this team has a pretty decent defense. They're playing at home. They're in the thick of things for the conference. I just don't think LA Tech has enough firepower to keep up with Western Kentucky on the offensive end. So I could see this game potentially being a blowout, especially if Western Kentucky hops on them, because LA Tech's not built to pass the ball. So I've got Western Kentucky today. I think that they could win by about 3 touchdowns. I think if you're betting from this perspective and you like to bet parlays or teasers or whatever the case, I mean, I would tease them. I would bet them in parlays. I would do whatever. I think this game turns into a 3 touchdown blowout. So I've got Western Kentucky today.
You also like BYU -2.5. They host Kansas tonight in Provo, Utah. BYU is 7th in the country, 9-0 at home against the 3-6 team. Explain this line to me first, Jacob. Yeah, I just combined your names there. I've never done that.
Well, it's happened my whole life, so
sorry about that, dude.
You know that I'm not. You know that HP and everybody calls me that there. So it happens on a regular basis. So this line doesn't make sense to me, and it's going to go one or two ways. BYU is either going to win this game and cover, or they're going to lose this game outright. And Vegas sees something in this line. Number 7 team at home against the 3-6 team, only laying less than laying less than a field goal at home. Doesn't make much sense. I know that they're coming off of a tough game where they had to grind another one out against Utah last week, but that's a pretty big rivalry and an in-state battle there. Utah also has a really good defense. I'm not impressed with Kansas's defense. I think BYU should be able to move the ball here. And I see everybody being on Kansas, and this being like the flashy upset pick for this week, because Kansas has lost, I think, 3 or 4 games by a combined 3 or 4 points. By an average of 3 or 4 points. They've lost a lot of one-score games, but BYU is a tough place to play. They're in the thick of things for the college football playoffs. They know they have to win this game or they're out. This would completely take them out of the picture. So you've got to like this game from that perspective, and I think people underestimate BYU's home field advantage. I think BYU is a pretty balanced team, and if you've watched Kansas play this year, I'm not impressed with their defense. I think you can run on them. I think you can pass on them, and I think the only thing that BYU is going to have to do today is stop the run, because we know Kansas has a pretty prolific running game. So if they could do that, I think that Daniels for Kansas will make a couple of turnovers. He's done that a lot this year. Started the year terribly. He's picked it up a little bit, but in that environment, I could see a couple turnovers going their way. I got BYU winning this game. I think it's a crazy line, something that you have to take advantage of as far as the opportunity you're getting here with laying less than a field goal at home.
And probably the biggest, I'm I'm taking that with you. I usually I don't look at what you send me, but and I'll get to my picks. I think that's absolutely like I would put the mortgage on BYU today. Probably the biggest game of the day, most implications college football playoff wise. Tennessee at Georgia. You like the under? Why?
Yeah, this is a game where if you look at kind of the perspective of what Tennessee's done over the years, they run that real quick offense. They're up to the line. They're running plays within 15 seconds of each other. But recently at Tennessee's games, they've been really low scoring, and it's because their defense has played well, and their offense hasn't really clicked. I know Nico's coming into this game with being a little banged up. They didn't even know if he was going to play, so there's potential that he misses this game. I don't see it because obviously the magnitude of this game, I'm sure he's going to play. But even if he does play, he's banged up. And then you go to the Georgia side of things. I mean, everybody thought Carson Beck was going to be somebody that could win the Heisman this year, and he's proved to be completely detrimental to that team so far. 17 touchdowns and 12 interceptions on the year. Somebody who was projected to be potentially the first quarterback taken in next year's draft, and I think a lot of opinions have changed on that. He's primarily the reason why Georgia has lost 2 games this year, just because of all his giveaways. So I could see him doing that again today, but I also could see Georgia switching up what they've been doing and focusing more on running the football, trying to, play the opposite of what Tennessee's going to do. Tennessee's obviously going to try and go fast. I think Georgia tries to counter that by running the ball and giving them less possessions. But if you look at these teams and kind of the games that they've been playing, I could see this being one of those grinded out type of games. So I think 47 is a little too much here. And I think Georgia's going to show up today on the defensive side of the ball. They know that their backs are against the wall now. One more loss completely takes them out of the picture. So I think you're going to get a good Georgia team today. And the way that they're going to do that is by minimizing Carson Beck's ability to throw the ball. So running clock and, 47's a lot. I could see it being like 24 to 14-ish. So I'll take the under in this game. I think it's going to be a classic, grinded out type of SEC game.
I'm looking forward to it. And to our friend Eddie Dunn, who used to live in Athens, Jacobs and I, he used to live in Athens, Georgia. He's a big Georgia guy. He didn't go there. We're done with your picks. You don't know if he's watching. I'm really energetic this morning. Anyway, need to inject more coffee into my veins, or maybe put bread in my pocket and eat it. If you heard that joke at the beginning, Nico I learned how to pronounce it earlier in the year. Nico Imalavia probably looked, like a Heisman Trophy candidate as well, and he's a freshman. As a New York Football Giants fan, I am off the Carson Beck train. He has looked awful. He has turned the ball over a ton. Going to my picks today, before we get to our lock, and it gives me the opportunity to play my favorite song. Tulane Navy. Tulane has looked really good. They have an Oregon transfer at quarterback. And Navy can't score points. They haven't looked that well. What a week or two ago, they lost to Rice. Rice fired their head coach. And then they got killed by Notre Dame here, about 30 miles north of me, at terrible MetLife Stadium. But I don't know, 49.5 just seems like a little bit of a too low of a number. I don't know what the weather is in Annapolis. I have to look. It's clear here, a little windy. I can't imagine it's any different down in Annapolis. But I like the over in that game. I think there's too much firepower on both sides of the ball offensively. BYU, I'm not going to explain it. 2.5. I'm trying to figure out what Vegas knows by them being 2.5, only 2.5 point favorites in Provo, a place I'd love to see a game at. I'm taking BYU. I might hammer that. And then before I get to our locks, I want to mention this. LSU is in Gainesville again against Florida. Florida is without 11 starters and 14 total players in their last game, which was a 32-point loss to Texas. It's not going to be any different today. LSU is in Gainesville. I might throw that in there. I also like Colorado by 12.5. There are two teams. And they're in Boulder. I'm going to take Colorado. I think Dion has this prime, no pun intended, spot. They're in home at Boulder, 12.5. I think that Big 12 championship game, which it looks like it's going to be pinned up BYU and Colorado. They haven't played each other this year. I'm very, very excited for that game. So I like Colorado by 12.5, and I have to throw in LSU, whether you get 3.5 or 4. So those are my picks. And I'm going to go to Jacob's lock of the week, and it boosted. It's thank you, Greeny. It is Washington State, which I have seen Action Network consensus is 10.5. For those of you probably traveling that are watching it, obviously you can gamble in New York or New Jersey. I don't know about Connecticut. But FanDuel, DraftKings, you can go to a casino, go to Atlantic City or Empire Casino. But you can get on the apps, FanDuel, DraftKings, Barstool. Washington State minus 10 or 11. Neff, you had it at 11. You sent it to me at 11. Your thoughts on why you like Wazoo at University Stadium today at minus 11?
Yeah, I'm going to catch some flack from the listeners on this one, the fans and whatever. But, I just think Washington State is powerful, potent on offense. And we've seen what happens when the Lobos play somebody with a capable offense. It's not usually the greatest scene. This is going to be the best offense that they've played all season. They have a balanced attack. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. The quarterback is scrambling. That's a huge concern for me. He has, great legs. I don't like the pressure that UNM gets on the quarterback. I think he'll have a lot of time today. To me, it's not a great spot. It's also one of those games where Washington State needs to make a statement, right? They're right there at the cusp of potentially making the college football playoffs. I know that they're not going to hop Boise State unless Boise State has a hiccup somewhere, but the more and more that they can show, the closer they get to the picture. And then obviously we might get a Washington State and Boise State Mountain West Conference championship game. But
they can't play in it.
They can't because of the yep. Okay. Yeah. So then there you go. Right. They've got to make statements for the rest of the season. And I just don't know, man. I think I'll give credit to the Lobos, and I think that they've played extremely well this year. I think we're all going to look back at a couple games, Wyoming and Montana State at the beginning, at the end of this year, and go, man, they could have made a bowl game if they potentially lose today. But overall, this team has improved. They're looking better. I think we all expected that with Bronco. And I think it's going to go up from here, but this is just not a great spot for them today, in my opinion. The offense is going to have to be very efficient and continue to score because Washington State will do that. And so, just 2 touchdowns is all you have to cover by in this game. And I feel like that could happen. And I think that there's a lot of things that play against them from the matchup of their offense versus our defense today. So I've got Washington as a minus 11-point favorite, and that's my lock of the week.
My lock of the week, and I'm probably going to do some justice to your pick. I've mentioned on here how much I love betting New Mexico State football games. And before I get to them, does anybody know where they are today? And Neff, you can't answer. Rick or Ed or any of our listeners, do you know where NMSU is today?
Kennesaw State.
They are at college. They are in College Station. They are taking on. Hold on, where is it? They are taking on. I mean, they should be familiar with, playing an SEC team, but they play number 15 ranked Texas A&M, and they are 39.5-point underdogs. They have done nothing this year that has given me any hope, except for when Neff and I were in Vegas. Of course, we got bent over by them that night. As people do in Vegas, I guess, literally and figuratively. I I just think 39.5 is way too little. I think Texas A&M is probably going to have to score some brownie points. The South Carolina loss wasn't the best. They are probably angry and they're hungry. And Mike Elko has this team sort of rolling. I think they caught South Carolina on the road. They were in Columbia. I thought they kind of caught them at a bad point in their season. But yes, the Fighting Aggies of New Mexico State are wobbling on over to College Station, and I cannot figure out how Texas A&M doesn't win this like 60-0. So I will take the 39.5 points. We'll get back next week with our record, but I will switch gears now to the game tonight at University Stadium. That is number 18 Washington State at UNM. And before we go any further, I have to say if you've watched the show, I'm a big advocate of how much I hate the Lobo Shield. I wish that they would put NM. I wish they would put the new font UNM or do this all the time. I absolutely love this helmet and this look. And Rick, I might start with you. I think this helmet is awesome.
Yeah, it's very well done. That's one of my favorite logos, the retro with the hat and scarf there licking his chops. So yeah, it's a good look. I like the video they put out announcing it yesterday. It's kind of funny. I guess North Carolina State fans are all up in arms that we've stolen this logo. So I don't know the exact history, but our SID at New Mexico keeps saying that this is a logo from the 60s that they're reusing, but we don't know if it was stolen in the 60s or not, right? So it could have been stolen, but either way, it looks good, and excited to see him play with it on. I hope the basketball team can adopt it as well.
Wish that they would burn the Shield logo and put that on the court. I didn't snip it, but if you've ever seen Louisville's court at the KFC Yum Center, which is by far one of the best names in all of college basketball.
While we're talking about Lobo Louie, I want to ask Ed and Jacob what they thought of the new mascot the other night, if they were scared.
Yeah, it had me quivering a little bit. I'm sure he was looking for some prey too, right? He could have ate that snake in the first row. So
Groucho Lobo Marx is what we coined it the other night. Ed, your thoughts being the Lobo fan since 1970?
That's
both.
The Lobo thing, I barely noticed it because my son and I really into watching the game, and then I noticed and I was like, wow, okay, that's a new look. I hadn't seen that one. Scared? Hell no. Nah. Thanks more than that. But interested, yeah, like, okay. But this logo here reminds me of the one from the 70s. Now, if Frank Macagliano says it goes back to the 60s, it probably does. But this one there, yeah, it reminds me of the 70s a lot. So I like that logo. I always have. So, I'm looking forward to seeing it on their helmets this evening. I like it.
I love it. I wish, that Louisville, if you've ever Google Louisville's court, it's the Cardinal, like a cartoon, dunking the ball. That is mid-court. I wish UNM would do something like that. I think the Shield is god-awful, and I've repeatedly said it on this show that as much as I like Steve Alford, allegedly, that is his baby, and that he wanted the Shield, and I just can't stand it. I think it looks like create a team on Madden 05. I've never really liked it. I like the UNM. I'm not wearing it. I had it on yesterday. Yes, I do own a UNM shirt, being that I am alumni. And I proudly wore it to Jersey Mike's Arena, which is a big cement building that looks like a prison. I'll get to that in a second, maybe before we start talking about football. The font on the side of the helmet, I just wish I like the football field for the fact that they have the 90s Lobo logo, that updated one. But for my money, I like the 90s, Urlacher logo. That's for my money. And I want to definitely salute, as much trash as I talk about UNM, I definitely want to salute something that I have defended. And I don't think it's really a homer thing. is the Pit before we start talking about basketball. I'm going to have the opportunity to go to a couple more arenas. I've seen the Knicks play in Madison Square Garden. I've seen an elite game in the Garden. I've been to the Garden. And that's an NBA arena, and it's meant for other things. So that's out of the question. But I defend the Pit. I love the Pit. I respect it. It does get loud. I went to Rutgers Athletic Center, also known as the Rack, or what is now dubbed Jersey Mike's Arena, last night for Rutgers at Monmouth. Ace Bailey, I think the number 2 recruit, made his debut for Rutgers out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Obviously, they have Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's son. Ron Harper Jr. played at Rutgers. The Rack, or Jersey Mike's Arena in Piscataway, and Rick, you said it best, and I stole it. Looks like you're walking into a prison. It's just a big cement building. And then there's a lot of newer buildings. There's literally dorms, maybe, I don't know, 500 feet across the street. So the student section I was very proud of. I'm sorry, UNM students. That's a pretty darn good student section. And it has become one of the harder places to play in the Big Ten. And I will make this quick. It was loud in there. It's only 9,000 people. Again, they're 24th in the country. They played Monmouth, who played pretty well last night. Monmouth has had some good teams, and it's only, not even 45 minutes away. It's down on the shore, in Monmouth County, New Jersey. But I would like to say, for somebody who's grown up here and then has gone to a couple of Rutgers basketball games, I appreciate the Pit a lot and what it brings and what it probably means to college basketball. Because the Rack is, I don't know. But again, it was loud in there. I give the student section credit, but for what the Pit is, and even maybe the renovations, I have to defend it.
They should now change it to Danny DeVito Arena.
They should name it Danny DeVito Arena. And he's from New Jersey. They didn't have his face up anywhere. Now that I think about that, I'm very, depressed. But again, as I mentioned, the guy in front of me walking up the stairs.
I was going to ask, was the bread from Jersey Mike's? Do they at least serve it there? Or,
I don't. I have to think about it more. I don't know if it was necessarily bread or a pretzel, but I was just like, what is going on here? And then my aunt and I had to get pizza. So we went to a pizzeria, and it's called Brothers, and it's here in East Brunswick. And they serve pasta. They have tons of stuff, but it's like what you see out of a movie. And there were guys, like old Italian men there, just yelling for Parmesan cheese. And I was like, I lived here and I never saw that. So it was right out of a movie. But Brothers, and not that they're going to advertise us, but a shout out to them. Because I've had it a million times since I've been here. It's the best. All right, I'll shut the fuck up about New Jersey and pizza here. I think where we probably start, Washington State, we saw them play, I think, about 20 years ago. They're 2-0 versus UNM all time. They beat them on September 3rd when we were seniors in high school. I got to give a shout out to my friends Stephen Pena and Mike Matas. We lived in 2003 and 2004 at University Stadium. Their only visit to Albuquerque was back in September 2004, and they beat UNM 21-17. Our boy Dontrell Moore had 167 yards and a 67-yard TD run. 2-0 is the series all time. They're minus 10, 10.5, 11, depending what book you're looking at. The line started at 14. UNM is 4-6 on the year. Wazoo is 8-1. The over/under 72.5. The game is on. Oh, oops! I think I put the game on True TV. The game is on FS1 tonight. I'll have to fix that at 7:30 Mountain Time. Neff, I might start with you here with John Mateer, this dual threat quarterback. Maybe other than Noah Fafita, Devin Dampier, and John Mateer, this is probably the best quarterback matchup.
Yeah, I
think the conference. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think you're going to see a lot of scrambles and a lot of rushing yards from the quarterback's perspective tonight. I don't even know if this is something you could bet, but I would almost look to see if there's like a prop somewhere where both quarterbacks eclipse 100 yards rushing tonight. I could see that happening from both teams' perspectives. These teams both run off of the quarterback play, obviously, and they both have great legs. They make good decisions. I've been really impressed with Mater's ability to pass and run this year. He's made a lot of good decisions. They have a stud at wide receiver in Kyle Williams. He's going to be a tough guard for the Lobos tonight. But ultimately, I mean, looking at 72.5, I mean, I think we could see more than 72 points in this game, just based off of the way that both these offenses are going to run. It's going to come down to, can Washington State's defense, as far from a cover perspective from their side, can they put it together enough stops to cover that spread? And then can the Lobos stop Washington State? I think it's going to be super important for the Lobos to get off to a good start. They're going to want to try and get them off the field a couple times, put a little bit of doubt into their minds. But if they drive it up and down the field in this couple of drives, I think it's going to be a long night. So I think this is going to be a great quarterback matchup. You're going to hear a lot about it on the broadcast, and rightfully so. Two really good quarterbacks tonight.
But I think their stats are very similar, right? And in terms of the total yardage they've put up, but they go about it very differently. Mateer is nowhere as near as dynamic of a runner as Dampier. He's more of a straight line guy that's going to ball fake and then just take off. He's not going to leave someone in the dust, in my eyes, like a Dampier. But
to me, he is a much more refined passer, right? 22 TDs on the year. This guy has a rocket for an arm, and
I think the secondary is really going to just have to be careful because they run play action a lot. The thing is, they don't run the ball a lot, so there shouldn't be a lot of reason to bite on the play action, especially with the secondary like UNM that has gotten beat over their heads time and time again. Like Jacob mentioned, Kyle Williams, I think Hudson is another receiver. They have a lot of weapons on the outside, and Mateer's not afraid to let it loose. So I think for the Lobos, Dampier can't afford to turn the ball over today. If they have 2 or 3 lost possessions, this game is over. They can't afford to have lost possessions or just give up big plays time and time again. They have to try to get a few stops, and they're going to have to score almost every offensive possession if they're going to hang in this game.
Yeah, and John Mateer actually got an offer this week from an NIL program for $1 million to play quarterback somewhere next year. So he's a stud. I just wanted to mention that. That was 2 days ago. They were talking about what it was going to be to keep him in Washington State next year, and he already has a pending $1 million deal from a school next year. So this guy's a stud, and it's going to be a good game to watch. Sorry, Ed, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. But I'll tell you one thing. That's a very good point, because if Mateer's getting a $1 million offer already, the question around here, we said, Ryan and I, in the press box, every time Dampier makes a great play, how much does that cost? We were all texting each other back a couple of weeks ago. So, does UNM have that kind of money? Is it going to cost $1 million, 1.5? What about all the other players? So that's down the line. But the matchup today is a great one. The play fake, you're right. Why would they bite on it? They will, because he's that good. He's a good ball handler, and keeps the ball in his hip. They will bite. They will. There'll be one-on-one coverage. He'll exploit. They'll take advantage of it. That's because they're that good of a team. So, I think the thing is, and Ned James said this on Monday, the previous 2 Mondays, Dampier hasn't turned the ball over. When he doesn't turn the ball over, they have a chance. They won 3 and lost 2, and those the one against Wyoming was a big one, a big loss, a lost opportunity against Montana State. But, Neff, I think you make a good point. This is a high-octane offense. Now, they've got to get them off the field on 3rd down. Here's the thing. New Mexico can't turn the ball over, and they have to generate a turnover. They got to get a fumble. They've got to get a pick. Special teams, how important is special teams? Ned James always talks about that. White Song, can you get a punt return? Get New Mexico a touchdown or a good field position? Can they flip the field on defense? There's a lot of questions here. Washington State is the better team. There's no doubt about it. New Mexico needs this win in the worst way. They're not very good against ranked teams. They're 6-61 against ranked opponents. 6-61. Yeah, it's just I hate to say that. That's just the stat. So of course I want them to win. Ned James thought they had a chance. If they can run the ball well, to hold down on the turnovers. But the defense, you've got to do something. You've got they haven't fared well. And Neff, you hit it right, the nail on the head. When they faced a high octane offense, they've not fared well, man. They have not. Wyoming came in with that quarterback who was a freshman. He lit them up. This is a whole different team here. The team that's ranked 20th in the nation. So New Mexico has to figure out some other things. It can't be a gimmick defense because he'll pick that apart too. Got to play their basic D and do the best they can, and hopefully generate a turnover and change the game that way, because Washington State is going to move the ball. That's how good they are. So going to be a tough task for the Lobos, and a good game to watch between two great quarterbacks. So that's for sure.
I was going to throw that out there. I mean, it's not in the history of UNM football. This has to be up there. And I don't think John Mateer is a joke. I mean, that San Jose State game earlier in the year, I know it was a shootout. I think he's a smart player. Athletically a little bit less than Dampier. At least in my mind, but I mean, he's exciting to watch. This is one of my favorite teams of all of college football. And I'm not just saying that. But this might be offensively this year one of the better matchups we've seen. I mean, I think it, for what the attendance we have seen at University Stadium, I think it's such a detriment that it starts at 7:30. I really feel, can't believe I'm saying this, I really feel bad for Bronco Mendenhall and company. I think this should be a game where there should be 25,000-30,000 people there. I'm a little kind of bummed. I don't know what the weather's like in Albuquerque today. It's been fairly nice. I know it's cooled down, but if it weren't for St. John's, I told UNM football SID Frank Mercogliano, I'm actually kind of, I thanked him for all the work he did this year with me, even though I give him quite a hard time on this show. I had to thank him because he does provide good stats, and I like to try to call it as I see it. He has a lot of information in his game notes, and I try to read them weekly to see if he takes a shot at me, but I didn't read them this week. But I told him, and I'm letting our listeners know, and I'm letting you guys know, for somebody who, as much as I do love college basketball, I live and die college football. I'm very upset that I'm not at this game today. And side note, I'm very bummed out that my dad's alma mater is in Maryland today with my buddy Mike Loxley. So Rutgers is playing at Maryland today. Got a little bit of a tie, have a lot of a tie to that game. But yeah, I'm bummed I'm not at this game today. I know Ben Wysong's listening, uncle to Luke, and he couldn't join us this morning. And Ben, I know you're listening. I always feel bad prefacing saying that you're Luke's uncle. You played for football. You played UNM. You played at UNM, and you were a Lobo back linebacker. So I think I should introduce you there. I don't know if you can chime in on the comments and what you think. Here he is. Turnover battle and offense, being able to maintain long sustained drives resulting in points will be key. Keep Wazoo off the field. That's what I thought. And that's kind of going to be my next segment. And I will turn it over to Rick, because he's our sitting in-house offensive lineman. Eli Sanders, the rushing, and Dampier, 110 carries for 872 yards and 13 TDs. Luke, this Wysong against Williams battle, Washington State's Williams, I think it's Kyle Williams, 42 receptions, 691 yards, 8 touchdowns. Luke has 55 receptions for 700 yards and a touchdown. I wish he hadn't gotten hurt. But then you have Eli Sanders, who has had a phenomenal year and was crucial against San Diego State last Friday night. 117 carries, 834 yards, 8 touchdowns. Rick, Ben kind of just said it. Maybe keep Washington State off the field. You've been impressed by the run game.
Yeah, I've been saying it probably about since midway through this season. Is we know the run game is their strength. They have 2 rushers that are going to have over 1,000 yards by the time this is all and done, with Sanders and Dampier. the more clock they can take off, like Ben is saying, to keep that high-powered Washington State offense off the field, that's what they need to do. And that's really the strength of the Lobos, is being dynamic in that backfield, being able to run that read option. But you have to be able to keep Dampier around 10 carries or less in my eyes, or he gets a little out of character. He tries to do a little too much when they get down. So if they can hang in there in the first half, create those turnovers. But I just got to call out, like you're saying, the offensive line and what they've been able to do. We reposted a stat on Twitter about how Dampier has been able to escape. And if you look at him on this graph compared to all other quarterbacks, he's up and to the right. Everyone else is clustered in a group. Dampier has gotten out of pressure and eluded pressure, and this O-line has somehow held up to the task all season when we thought coming in this was going to be the weakest group. Well, that hasn't been true, and they've actually been one of the highlights this year. 88th, or 30th in the country in scoring, 33 points a game, not too far behind Washington State, who's averaging 39. So, they were able to hang in there with Arizona early in the season for about 3 quarters, and that type of back and forth game. It just really came down to turnovers. And I'm calling out Luke Wysong today to get his second or third receiving touchdown. Hard to believe he's only had one receiving touchdown on the year and that one kick return. So I'm calling for him to get 1 or 2 receiving touchdowns today.
I got a text message from our former teacher, Rick, Mr. William Torres. He's a PA for the New Mexico United, for New Mexico United, not the New Mexico United. He's watching game day. I don't have game day. This is a loft at my aunt's place. I have the TV on, but I have it on mute and I can't see it. That's the perks about coming back east. Anytime I need to be in New York, I guess I can stay for free, which is.
Are you actually? It looks like you're actually at Plymouth Rock.
I mean,
I never saw a candle holder built into the wall. I think you're actually at one of the Pilgrims' homes.
Hold on, let me.
Do you have real lights there?
Yes, we do.
Are you pedaling a bike to power up your computer?
I'm pedaling a bike to do the power and the internet. I changed live from Plymouth Rock. I don't have any defense of this. I'm actually very happy. This is the background. I wish I had the turkey that was on the table over there. I love my aunt. I can't, and she's not here right now, so I can't talk shit. But yes, I'm live from Plymouth Rock. Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, Reese Davis, Bill Torres, the PA announcer and friend and former teacher, said that Reese Davis on College Game Day has the Lobos as his super dog today. So at least they're getting some love nationally. Ed, this is kind of veering away from football, but given that the football team won at San Diego State, beat UCLA within the same hour, now you have UNM with Washington State on tonight, who is ranked top 20, getting some love on ESPN College Game Day, and then you have, which is probably the storyline of college basketball, and you're in New York and you're at the Mecca. When's the last time, UNM athletics got this kind of coverage? And how exciting is it?
Very. I'm trying to think when they both got coverage like that. It's been a while. I remember when, Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey that night and New Mexico beat Boise State in football. That was a big night, but, for the Lobo football team, not so much for the basketball team. But I remember Boise State almost won at the end. My son, Nick, almost had a conniption, man. I still remember that he was watching at the house with us. And so that was a big night. But as far as a dual coverage, I guess last week when they both won, but we're talking about national coverage for both teams. And that's been a while, so I'm excited for you, Ryan, getting to see a game in Madison Square Garden tomorrow. That's going to be a great experience. And I know you and Neff weren't overly impressed with St. John's. You saw them more than I did the other night. I saw them for about an 8 to 10 minute window. I didn't see much after that, but just seeing how will New Mexico respond in the Garden tomorrow? That's the question. And you mentioned 2 time zones. That's always a difficult travel there, and it's on the road. And Coach, I'll just make it quick because I know we're covering Lobo football today, but Coach Pitino, Rick Pitino said, hey, I'll be okay if my son wins. It's my son. I'm very proud of him. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay. Yeah, because you don't ever want to lose it. It is his son. I get that. But I think it's a great weekend. When has New Mexico ever mentioned on College Game Day?
Never.
I can't remember. But they've got to win. And you know what? Neff said it too. They put themselves in this hole themselves. That game against Wyoming, 45-35. I told you I was ready to leave, back it up. They scored again. That pick six changed everything. Montana State, they're ahead in the fourth quarter, and they let it slip away. Now, they're still better. They're still much better than they were last year, but they've got to win. They've got to win. It's a tough task today. Can they get it done? 11-point dogs today. And, I think Jacob gave a great breakdown of why it's going to be tough. I've still got hope. But and then tomorrow, we're trying to figure out because we got to be at a gala, my son and I tonight. And then we've got to help load tomorrow. But we're going to go to the Sandia Sportsbook and watch the game there. So I'm excited for both. I can't see the football game tonight. I'm getting it. I have to tape it. But it's a great weekend as far as if you're a Lobo fan to watch the football and then the basketball game tomorrow. But the national coverage would be even greater if New Mexico was able to pull off the upset tonight. And then tomorrow, would it be a huge upset if they beat St. John's? I don't think it would be huge, but they won in New York for Lobo fans who remember when the Lobos won the NIT in 1964 in New York, and that kind of started Lobo basketball. And of course, there's still some old fans there left from that. That would really raise the roof here as far as expectations for this year's team. So I think it's a great Lobo weekend for sure, but hopefully they win on both ends.
We plan on doing something tomorrow morning. Again, I know it's going to be very early for those in Albuquerque, but I plan on being in the city by 9 a.m. It's about a 50-minute train ride from where I'm at because I'm not driving on the turnpike. Rick, I was going to make a joke about it. Yeah, no, you're beating me. With I don't know, excited for the game tomorrow. I wanted to go off. I know I'm not a comedian, so I give up. But I wanted to just mention Montana State because we have talked a lot about that game. Montana State beat UNM 35-31 on August 30th, 24th, week 0. They're 10-0, and they have beaten Utah Tech 31-7, Maine 41-24. Mercyhurst 52-13, Idaho State 37-17, Northern Colorado 55-17, Idaho 38-7, Portland State 44-14, Eastern Washington 42-28, Sacramento State, who's a pretty good Big Sky, FCS team, 49-7. They get UC Davis today at 8:00. I'd have to look at the line. Then they obviously play that big rivalry game next Saturday, hosting Montana. Then you get the playoff, the 32 teams. They have completely dominated. They are a very, very good FCS team. I'm very excited for that. We'll put on Twitter what we're going to do tomorrow prior to the St. John's game. I'll probably come to you live from my cellular device in Midtown Manhattan. We know what Neff's prediction is, -11. If you just joining us and we're about to sign off so you guys can enjoy your college football and basketball Saturday. Jacob, again, why you like Wazoo -11?
Yeah, it's the offense firepower for Washington State against my ability to, or the Lobos' ability for my thought process, the Lobos' ability to stop them from a defensive perspective. I think this team, although they don't run the ball very much, the quarterback provides that for this team. And, if we don't provide any type of pressure in this game, he's going to be able to sit back and do what he wants. And then once they ramp up the pressure, that's when his legs get involved, and he starts to run the ball down the field. Like I said, for me, I think New Mexico has to set a tone in this game. They're going to need to get Washington State off the field in the first couple of drives to put a little bit of doubt in their minds that it's not going to be as easy as they think it's going to be. If we see the offense run up and down the field in the first couple drives, I think they're going to have full confidence. The Lobos could start to scramble, and then we're playing from behind, and that's not exactly what UNM wants to do with their rushing attack. So to me, I just see Washington State needing to put up points in this game, needing to make statements against teams like this for their potential to make the college football playoffs. So they need every bit of style points that they can get. You saw last week when they played Utah State, it wasn't the greatest first half from their perspective, but then in the second half, they even when they could have just took their foot off the gas, they continued to put points on the board, and that's because the style points matter in these types of games. So let's see if they could stop them. If they could rattle them right off the bat, I think they've got a chance. If they come out flat, I think it could be a long night for them.
And feel free, before we sign off, go to the comments, give us your predictions, and I'll give a shout out to Ben, what he thinks is going to happen. Rick, I'll start with you. Your prediction for number 18, Washington State at UNM tonight.
One thing we haven't really mentioned yet is the Washington State defense. They give up 27 points a game, which is 88th in the country. It's not a great unit. I think the Lobos can keep up on offense. We can see Lobos can hit the home run ball, or they can, control it and score on a long drive. I think they're going to be able to hang in this game. I'm going to say, as I do every week, Lobos to cover. I'm going to say 54-51. Good guys.
I love it. Ed.
I think Rick and Jacob both make great points. New Mexico has to play a clean, complete game. No turnovers. And I think they have to get a turnover and make a play on special teams. I'm not, for all those reasons Jacob mentioned, Washington State is the better team. I don't think there's any doubt about it. They're ranked 18th in the nation. New Mexico's not always fared well against ranked teams. But, yeah, I'm the Lobo guy. I mean, again, I realize all these things I'm talking about. Washington State should be favored. I'll go New Mexico 38-31.
I think UNM can cover. Maybe backdoor. Rick had to jump off. Appreciate his time. I like the over at 72.5. I mean, if Washington State can figure out how to get to 50, I'm sure UNM could figure out how to get to 30. Jacob, you might have said it. I think it's well over. And Ed, well, I've still got you here, and we haven't talked about this, and I think we need to really talk about the season that Devin Dampier has had at quarterback. We have talked about it, but maybe in depth, and have him on the show. He's 582 yards away from 3,000 yards passing, and he's just south of 200 yards from 1,000 yards rushing, which is astronomical for a quarterback. And I think if anybody but Ashton Jeanty was in this conference, he might be the conference player of the year. I really believe that. I mean, Ed, I was a big Lobo football fan in the day. I remember Graham Lee, Casey Kelly. I thought Donovan Porter was phenomenal. Cole McCamey had some moments. And no disrespect to Ned James, I didn't watch him play. I need to look at his stats, but and I love the guy, and we'll have him on again Monday. I'll be coming to you live from 6:00 from New Jersey. But you hear those numbers, Ed. I mean, what's the first thing you think of when it comes to Lobo football?
That he's probably the best we've seen here. Now, I said earlier in the season we needed more body of work to make that statement, but I think we've got it. We've seen it. He makes plays with his legs and his arm. Rocky Long, a great wishbone quarterback back in the day. Don Woods, a wishbone quarterback for 1 year, was Rookie of the Year with the San Diego Chargers in 1974. But the offenses are much more different now as far as running and passing than it was then. No disrespect to those guys. Rocky Long played in the Canadian Football League as a cornerback for years, and tough, man. He's really a tough football player. But as far as the overall quarterback, Sonny Case, we can't forget about him. He was drafted by the Cardinals and played some years in the pros. But as the quarterbacks that I've seen, and I've seen them all since 1970, that guy's the best that we've seen. And, as far as a dynamic playmaker with both his legs and his arms, leg and his arm. So, yeah, he's a phenomenal player, man. And it's going to be a great matchup tonight. And, looking down the line, if Mateer's already – it's kind of like when Jacob said that, the Mateer's already got an offer for $1 million. You're thinking, man, what's it going to take to keep Dampier here? But a friend of mine said this too the other day. He said, hey, They almost have to keep him here because if the Lobos go on some momentum, even if they're 5-7 at the end of the year, and you have him to sell like, hey, we've got Devin Dampier coming back next year. That's your marketing ploy, and you almost have to try to do whatever it takes to keep him. There is a limit because they have to keep him and then other players too. But you have to do the best you can to try to keep him here. So yeah, that's my opinion on him. Ryan, he's dynamic. He's unbelievable tonight. He has to be nearly perfect in as far as no turnovers and make his usual plays with his legs and his arm for the Lobos to have a chance.
I am definitely thinking of one Jeff Symbieta and what maybe a win tonight would mean to the community, because it will be I think it will be, we will be zoned in probably on talking about Hawaii. I don't think they get a bye and then they go to Hawaii after Thanksgiving. I believe it's the 30th. So we would have, kind of a 2-week build of anticipation if this team is sitting at 5-7. I believe truly, I don't like to be woulda, coulda, shoulda. This team could possibly already be 6-4. They have shot themselves in the foot, which you get into a whole conversation of, is this team really better than last year? They went 4-8. What last year, right? They're sitting at 4-6 this year. I believe if they can win today, they can truly beat Hawaii. As much as I love Timmy Chang, Rick wasn't impressed with Braden Schrager, the quarterback there, when you saw him last week against UNLV, which is a rivalry game. I want to go to Ben real quick. Simply put, it's going to come down to whose defense plays better, like Rick was referring to. It's going to be a barn burner, but I think UNM pulls off the upset. They had a great week of practice. I mean, he's got a little bit of insider information there. I wanted to get to just the Mountain West Conference games around around the league. Boise State is at, and I'll go to Paul Hill real quick, 34-29 Lobos. I think SJSU pulls off the upset on Boise State. Boise State is at San Jose State. That game is on at 7 o'clock Eastern. I think that's Eastern time. Lost my train of thought there. Boise State, number 13th in the country, is at San Jose State. San Jose State 6-3. They have a phenomenal wide receiver, Nick Nash. 86 receptions for over 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns. Boise State has played some pretty good defense. UNLV is at San Diego State, and then obviously have UNM and Washington State. So I think it's a pretty good day of football. I want to thank Dulce. Any final thoughts from any of you guys? Actually, I'm going to go to the comments real quick. Heading onto the plane right now to NYCGS. George Scott, let's go football and basketball. That's going to be my guess. John Romero, hi, Ryan. Happy for you. You're back home and enjoying yourself. Wishing you a great time. Go Lobos in basketball and football today. Ronnie Chavez, how is the weather in New Jersey? This morning it's a little windy, but it's just as cold as Albuquerque, which is insanity for New Jersey in mid-November. It can get cold here. Cleveland versus La Cueva, part 3 coming up by Ben. Ronnie Chavez, Georgia is going to be pumped for the first home game since October 12th. I didn't know that. Ronnie Chavez, Boo Neff. Ronnie Chavez, 12th man. Ben, A&M covers at halftime. 52-45 Lobos. I didn't see my dear friend, Jimmy H. And you know who I've missed? I have to call you out because I don't know where you've been. Whoops.
To Miguel Sanchez.
Mr. Hutz, why are you burning all your personal papers?
As of this moment, Lionel Hutz no longer exists. Say hello to Miguel Sanchez.
I miss you, Miguel Sanchez. I don't know where you are, but
to Miguel Sanchez.
Any final thoughts from you guys today? We'll talk basketball tomorrow morning, but Neff, any final thoughts on anything?
Yeah. I kind of tend to agree with Ben here on San Jose State. That almost made my bets for the week. I think San Jose State's going to give Boise State all they can handle today. You're talking about a team that only gives up about 3.7 yards per rush against them on defense. This is going to be one of the better defenses that Genty sees all season. And I feel like if they can keep him under control, kind of like UNLV did, it'll be a close game. We already talked about their offense. You talked about Nash. I think Boise State's defense has been okay. Seemed a little shaky last week, but the pressure's starting to mount on them. They've got to be perfect the rest of the way. I think San Jose State covers the 14 today and potentially gives them a huge scare, even potentially could beat them at the end of the game there. They've got things rolling there. So that's something that I would agree with Ben with, potential upset there. But just overall, great day in college football. We're starting to get to the nitty gritty of what teams belong in the college playoffs, and every game matters now. So, can't wait to watch some games.
Ed, any final thoughts on today or anything in general?
No, just well, we'll save the in general comments for later, man. But no, exciting, man. I'm excited for New Mexico tonight. A lot of great. Jacob's right. A lot of great these playoff. The spots for the playoffs. The Jocelyn margin for error is slim for some of these teams, man. And so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow morning too with New Mexico taking on St. John's. Excited that you're there, Ryan. Drink it all up, man. Enjoy it. It's got to be a great experience.
I when I was in when I worked for the Daily Lobo, and this is where I wanted to, what I wanted to do, and I don't like to fly. I'm slowly getting over that. I was much happier. Neff saw it in person about a month ago. I deal with anxiety in life in general. And as I mentioned here, I drank a lot, and that's why I did, just to calm my anxiety. I used to say the best part of my day was the end of my second beer. But traveling is cool. But now, I've got a 7-year-old. I've been busy. This trip, when this game came out, I knew I was coming regardless because, I have ties here. This is easy. I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing. A lot of people were asking me, are you flying into LaGuardia or JFK? I don't have to. I fly into Newark, New Jersey, which when you land, you see the city and you're right there. But I know how to navigate this area. And if people complain about Coors and Unster. Holy shit. It was a Thursday night at 9:00 in the Turnpike in Route 18 and 22. God, it was terrible. And Vegas was terrible last week. Not that and Jacob knows my hatred for Unser going into Rio Rancho, but I know how to navigate here. So I was coming to this game anyway, but to go to Vegas and do that, I'm going to go to some conference road games too. I've got 2 selected already, trying to make it 3 or 4. Vegas is so easy to get to, and everything's right there. So I might go to the UNLV game on the road. But this is what I strive to do, and I'm very excited, and I'm very happy to be here. And it's not like I've never been to the Garden. I've never been to the Garden as a member of the press corps or press. I saw an Elite 8 game there. I saw South Carolina in 27 defeat Florida. The East Regional was here and it was in New York. Frank Martin was the head coach. That was very cool to be at and be a part of. I've seen the Knicks. I saw the Danny Granger-less Pacers, who sucked in 2009, 2010, play the shitty Knicks, who had sucked for years. Saw Danilo Gallinari baptize somebody on the Pacers. So that's, how bad the basketball was in MSG. I saw the Liberty play when the WNBA was new in 1998, 1999. So I'm not foreign to the Garden, and I used to take the train into Penn Station all the time. So I know where I'm at. No, I'm a member of the press. I'm not in the nosebleeds. And if I was, I probably would have paid for better tickets. The only thing I paid for was Rutgers game last night. Anyway, Ben said it too. 2 of the top 5 wide receivers in the Mountain West are on SJSU. There's a lot of good wide receiver play in the Mountain West between, his nephew, Luke, Nick Nash. Boise's got a couple. Torrey Horton, unfortunately, got hurt. And then Ricky White. Ricky White is a punt block specialist. I want to thank Dulce River Bakery and Coffee. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Enjoy tonight. We will figure out what we're doing tomorrow prior to the St. John's game. But for today, enjoy the Mountain West. Enjoy the Mountain West football action. Enjoy Washington State and UNM. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Go to the game tonight. Go support this team. Go see a good Washington State team. I mean, I understand UNM. There might be a chance UNM doesn't win, but you will see an exciting football game, I think. So go out there, deal with the parking. It's not as bad as you think. On behalf of my business partner, Eric Moulton, Rick Thompson,
Richard,
Ed Nunez, Nick Nunez, and Jacob Neff. Follow Jacob on NM Sports Capper. I hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And enjoy all the college football today. We'll talk to you tomorrow prior to the St. John's game.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mandel.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.